I'm Rafael, you're watching Rock and Roll Garage, and today I'm gonna tell you which are the 6 musicians who love Peter Gabriel, the original Genesis vocalist, okay? But first, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, and leave your comment below, okay? Let's start. The first one on the list is Eddie Van Halen. That's right, if you didn't know that. Eddie was a big fan of Peter Gabriel's solo career, and his son Wolfgang Van Halen already said many times in interviews that one of his most special memories of his father was when he was a kid, and his father put headphones in his ears and started playing Red Rain, a classic Peter Gabriel solo track from the album Soul, released in 1986. And he was really a big fan of Peter Gabriel, and in an interview with Guitar Tricks Insider magazine in 2016, Eddie listed some of his favorite albums of all time, and one of them was Soul. And that album had Red Rain, Sledgehammer, Don't Give Up, Mercy Street, Big Time, In Your Eyes, all incredible songs. It's probably the most famous Peter Gabriel album, and Eddie loved them. And let's continue. The second person that really loves Peter Gabriel is Sami Hager, the former Montrose and Van Halen vocalist Sami Hager. And he's another musician who loves the Peter Gabriel. And he said in an interview with ABC7 that we transcribed in 2020, he said he was asked who was his favorite musician of all time, and he picked Peter Gabriel. He said, Peter Gabriel, he's so passionate and soulful, deep, clever, wise, and unique. He sings about stuff that I don't even know what he's talking about. I'm going, yeah, I'm buying that. That's what Sami said about Peter. And in an interview with Rolling Stone 2016, he listed the track Sledgehammer as one of the songs he wished he had written. And he said, this is so clever, the song. When I write about a song about sex, like Pound Cake, Van Halen, it's so fucking blatant. Peter puts this twist on it where it sounds cutesy pie. That's what he said about Sledgehammer. And the next one, it's a little bit obvious because he's a big Genesis fan, and it is Gilby Lee, the Rush vocalist, keyboardist, and bassist Gilby Lee. And obviously he loves, he's a big progressive rock fan. He loves Genesis, especially the progressive era with Peter Gabriel on vocals. And in an interview with Global Bass Online back in 2000 that we selected, he also praised Peter Gabriel's solo career, and he praised the song Salisbury Hill. And he said, every time Salisbury Hill by Peter Gabriel comes on the radio, I remember where I was when I first heard it. That song doesn't age because it's so well written. There's something so right about it. That's what he said. And there are many interesting stories about Gilby Lee and Genesis. He was a big Genesis fan, and obviously, as you might know, he was born in Canada and he lived in Canada. And there was one time when in the early years of Genesis, they were touring as the opening act for Lou Reed in Canada, and Geddy wasn't a big fan of Lou Reed, so he wasn't interested in the main show, and he went, like many other people that he said that night, went just to see Genesis playing, and after the show came to an end, they went home. They didn't stay to see Lou Reed. And Lou Reed played to less people than Genesis that night. That's what Gilby Lee said, and it's a very interesting story as well. And you can go to the description, read the article he wrote about this. All of these stories are there. You can read all the statements from these artists, okay? And we reach the fifth, actually two people, which are Bruce Dickinson and Steve Harris. We're going to talk about them at once, which are the bassist and the vocalist of Iron Maiden. And although they're a heavy metal band, they love progressive rock, and Iron Maiden, especially after the late 80s, mid 80s, they really became a progressive band, you know, in some sort of ways. The songs got longer, especially in the past 20 years, they're quite progressive, and I personally don't like that much. I prefer the old Iron Maiden from the first two albums with Paul Di'Anno, and the first ones with Bruce Dickinson, you know, shorter songs, heavier, but now they're long and more progressive, because especially the band's leader and main songwriter, Steve Harris, he's a huge progressive rock fan, and he's a huge Genesis fan. Just like Eddie Lee, he loves the Genesis era with Peter Gabriel. And there's an interesting story that he, in an interview with Loudwire in 2020, he recalled that he was starstruck when he met Peter Gabriel. And he said that he was really, really nervous when he had the chance to meet Gabriel and play tennis with him. He said, I ended up playing tennis with Peter Gabriel once, just because he was on the court in the same hotel as me. I don't know if he even knew who I was, but I didn't say anything because I didn't want to get tongue-tied. I didn't want to act like a fanboy, even though I felt like one. When you're into bands that much, you don't really think about working with them. You never really have a chance. You tend to put them on a pedestal. That's what he said. And in an interview with Prog magazine in 2015, he said he was devastated when he discovered that Gabriel left Genesis. And he said that the band for him was never the same after Gabriel left. And Bruce Dickinson is also a huge fan of Genesis, and in an interview with Ultimate Classic Rock in 2001, he said that he actually prefers Peter Gabriel's solo career than his work with Genesis. And he talked about Steve Harris. He said, Steve Harris is a massive Genesis fan. Not Genesis with Phil Collins so much, the early Genesis with Peter Gabriel. On the other hand, I'm more of a Peter Gabriel solo fan. When he left Genesis, I think his stuff is more edgy. Peter Gabriel 3, whoa, what an incredible album. The songs, Intruder, No Self-Control, that's a sinister record. That's what Bruce Dickinson said about Steve Harris and Peter Gabriel. And we reached the final one. The final one is Elton John. And there's a really interesting statement. Like many rock stars, Elton had many problems with addiction, with drugs, with alcohol, and especially in the 80s, he was really in a bad place. And he recalled in a very interesting interview with BBC Radio 2 in the show Tracks of My Years back in 2019 that we transcribed at the time. And he told a very interesting story that we're going to read here now, that he was really in a bad place at the time. And the solo Peter Gabriel song called "Don't Give Up," which has the incredible singer Kate Bush. He said that he helped him a lot, and this is what Elton said. This song reminds me of when I was in the depths of despair during my addiction. I always used to put this on. I used to sit there and cry thinking, I won't give up, I will be well one day. Peter Gabriel is just the most amazing artist. Kate Bush ditto. This song is so beautiful. When people mention great British artists, sometimes people don't mention Peter Gabriel. He's so up there. He was so innovative, not just with his recording with Genesis, but solo. For me, he's a true British great and innovator. A bit like Damon Albarn with Blur. He reminds me of young Peter Gabriel. This track still reminds me of the dark days and the determination to not give up. That's really, really cool and such a beautiful story. And it's, besides being a great song, it's a beautiful music video, because it's Peter Gabriel and Kate Bush hugging each other the whole music video. It's a beautiful music video too. And that's it. I hope you liked the video. Don't forget to subscribe, to like the video, leave your comment below, tell me what you think, if you also like Peter Gabriel or not, which is your favorite album, your favorite song, and let's talk about it, okay? Thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.